Hey, we're back with Glen Greenwald, columnist and blogger at Salon.com. Also with us, NPR's Michelle Norris.
Out with a great new book, The Grace of Silence.
Grace of Silence. Can't wait to dig into that, too. I've got a lot of reading this week.
Yes, you do.
Hey, Glenn, let's talk about Afghanistan. Mike Barnacle and I have been concerned, obviously, for the past couple of years about the generals asking for more troops, more troops, more troops. The Woodward book comes out, and it looks like it was the generals against everybody else in the administration.
Although the president ultimately ended up giving the generals essentially most of what they wanted, and there's a question about how real this withdrawal is. Is it really just a political fig leaf to say this isn't going to go on forever? There's lots of indication that we will. I think the real issue, though, is that, you know, one of the lessons that we supposedly were supposed to learn from 9/11 is that the reason why there's so many people willing to strap on bombs and come and blow us up is not because they hate us for our freedom or any of those other cliches. It's because they think that the things we're doing in their world merit retaliation, merit coming here and blowing us up the way they think we're doing that to them. And so here we are in Afghanistan, continuing to prop up a corrupt government, continuing to drop bombs regularly. Obama has intensified dramatically the number of drone attacks in Pakistan, the number of civilians that we're killing. And so all the things that we claim we learned as a lesson from 9/11 as to what causes terrorism and anti-American sentiment are the things we continue to do, occupying their countries, dropping bombs without an end in sight. And we're essentially exacerbating the problem we claim we're there to try and solve.
Mike Barnacle, a Christmas Day bomber, didn't go back to us occupying Saudi Arabia or having 100,000 troops here. It was drone attacks killing civilians in Afghanistan.
You know, I mean, look, war is inherently a messy business, and there are going to be stories and there are going to be actual events where civilians do get killed. The larger issue with Afghanistan, at least resonated with me having dinner about a week and a half ago with a young captain just back from Afghanistan, his third tour. And we were talking, and he said if we were able to go into Helmand Province, Marja, Kabul, anywhere, and demilitarize, disarm every member of the Taliban, guess what would happen? I said, what would happen? He said, they would throw rocks at us. Yeah. That's what they would do.
Well, that's the history.
When you talk about disarming Marja, though, you're talking about what they are doing now, what they have not continued to do, what they did early on in the war in Afghanistan, was to try to decapitate the Taliban and the warlords by cutting down on the drug trade. And if you look at the numbers, the drug trade has come roaring back. It's as strong as it was at the beginning of this conflict. And so, you know, they might not have to throw rocks because they still have money to go back out and buy guns.
So what's the end game? That's what I don't understand. There has never been an end game in Afghanistan. What is the end game there?
Well, this is the problem, is we make this mistake. That was always the question with Vietnam as well, and for a while it was the question with Iraq, which is once we invade these countries and destroy their civil society and their infrastructure, the only two choices we have is to leave the chaos that's there or to try and rebuild it, which at the moment we don't even have the capability to do.
And what's a triggering event to leave? Right now, administration officials will tell you to prop up the government, which means propping up Karzai. This is a guy that won't even take his meds.
And it's not even a real government. It's the government of Kabul. He doesn't govern most of Afghanistan. And so what we try and do when we have these failed policies is keep doing it, because the idea is losing means leaving.
Okay, but do you have a clear answer?
Yeah, I think we ought to leave. We're not accomplishing any good.
And what would happen if we left?
Then the country would essentially return to the way, really what it is now.
And you don't see problems with that?
Well, there's things that you can do. I mean, you don't want Al-Qaeda returning to Afghanistan, but Al-Qaeda has safe haven already in Pakistan and in Yemen. There's no reason to think that the Taliban would give it.
Ask me that question. What would happen if we leave?
What would happen if we left?
No, ask it this way. What would happen if we left in 2011? Ask me.
What would happen, Joe, if we left in 2011?
Why, Mika, the same thing that would happen if we left in 2021.
Right.
The same thing that would happen if we left in 2031. The same thing that would happen if we left in 2041, except for the fact a lot more young Americans are going to get bullets through the back of their heads between 2011 and 2021, and we will have no more of a strategic advantage spending $2 billion a week over the next decade. Glenn, this is senseless. What Barnacle and I get so upset about is nobody has an answer to that question. We can't leave because it'll be chaotic. Well, yes, but it will also be chaotic if we leave 10 years from now.
Well, the real concern, the reason we don't leave is because political leaders who leave wars and leave chaos there are accused of losing a war, and then it's a huge political fear. And if we stop politicizing the war and have the real conversation that what we're doing is counterproductive, we're losing lives for absolutely no reason, financially harming ourselves for no reason, and making things worse, then we could actually have a rational solution.
You nailed it. You nailed it. Nobody wants to be responsible. Obama doesn't want to be responsible for losing the war, and Republicans are circling, waiting for a chance to blame them for losing the war.
Exactly. Glen Greenwald, thank you very much.
Glenn, thank
Michelle
you. Come
Norris,
back.
thank you.
Happy
The
to do
book,
so.
The Grace of Silence.
I still don't get the title. I'm going to read it.
He does.
No,
he does.